Iran as soon as Saturday. This according to CBS News, which also reported that Trump has yet to make a decision on whether to greenlight an attack. Could war come this weekend? ILTV's Steve Leibowitz has the report.
The U.S. broadcaster CBS News says the timeline for President Trump's decision to launch an attack on Iran is expected to extend beyond this weekend, but the military is ready to strike as early as this Saturday. The latest reports follow dramatic new signals that the United States is moving closer to a military strike on Iran as senior officials dismiss the latest nuclear talks as a failure. A senior U.S. official told Channel 12 that the Geneva talks were, quote, a nothing burger. Another American official said Iran has until the end of the month to agree to a package of significant concessions on its nuclear program and other Trump red lines. According to U.S. sources, President Trump is very close to giving the order for a major strike on Iran, with multiple officials in Washington and Jerusalem saying the military confrontation could begin within days and develop into an intensive multi-week campaign. This from the White House spokesperson.
Well, there's many reasons and arguments that one could make for a strike against Iran. The president had a very successful operation as commander-in-chief with Operation Midnight Hammer, as you know, as you just said, totally obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities. The president has always been very clear, though, with respect to Iran or any country around the world, diplomacy is always his first option, and Iran would be very wise to make a deal with President Trump and with this administration.
With the U.S. military prepared to strike Iran as early as this weekend, and with air and naval assets already massed in the region, including carrier strike groups and fighter jets, U.S. forces are on high alert and ready for a possible order at any moment. Israel is closely coordinating with Washington, and officials here are preparing for the possibility of joining or supporting a U.S. strike, as well as for Iranian retaliation if military action moves forward.
As tensions with Washington intensify, Iran is stepping up military preparations on land and at sea. ILTV's Devil Klein is following the developments.
Iran and Russia are holding joint naval maneuvers in the Sea of Oman and the northern Indian Ocean in a show of strategic coordination amid fears of a potential U.S. strike. A Russian corvette, the Stoichi, arrived at the Iranian port of Bandar Abbas ahead of the drills. Moscow said the exercises are aimed at strengthening maritime security and protecting civilian shipping. At the same time, Iran's Revolutionary Guard have launched separate drills in the Strait of Hormuz, a critical global oil checkpoint, even announcing a temporary partial closure of the waterway for, quote, security reasons. But preparations are not limited to the sea. New satellite images show Iran repairing, fortifying, and in some cases burying key military and nuclear sites following last year's strikes. At the sensitive Parshan military complex near Tehran, previously linked by Western intelligence to nuclear-related testing, analysts say Iran has built a massive concrete shield over a new facility known as Taligan 2 and covered it with soil to camouflage it from aerial surveillance. At the Isfahan nuclear complex, where enriched uranium has been stored, satellite imagery shows all tunnel entrances now completely buried, a move experts say could blunt the impact of airstrikes or complicate special forces raids. Near Natanz, Iran is also hardening tunnel entrances under a mountain site known as Pekashi Mountain, with heavy equipment and cement mixers seen at work. Meanwhile, missile bases near Shiraz and Qom, damaged in last year's conflict, are undergoing repairs, with new roofs and logistics facilities being restored. These moves suggest Iran is preparing for the possibility for a U.S. attack, which may now only be days away.
Now joining the broadcast to shed some light on what we can expect to see over the weekend and in coming weeks is Benny Sabti, an Iran expert and a researcher at INSS. Benny, thank you for joining us today. Always a pleasure to have you on. To begin, what's the significance of these military drills that we see right now the Islamic Republic conducting alongside Russia?
Hi, thank you for having me. The reason that the Iranians do these drills and maneuvers in the Persian Gulf with Russia is to bring another friend to this issue and try to make the West or the Americans to think that they are powerful, they have support from another superpower in this area. Russia is of course a challenge for the West, not that it's so strong, but again, Russia is not Iran, so they, again, like the Iranian way for many times, they go for kind of a deceiveness and kind of a false picture to show to the West that they have much more power together with this friend that they have just by themselves. Of course, Russia is not a real friend for Iran regime. They use them for having drones or other kind of ammunition to fight the war in Ukraine. But Russia is not a real friend for Iran, as, for example, America is for Israel. So I don't think the Russians will play the same game that Iran wants to play there.
They're a bit of a paper tiger, a display of force, but perhaps fake force. I do want to ask you, we've heard, of course, a lot of back and forth right now, negotiations, while also increasing the military threat from the U.S. side. Do you think that there's any deal the regime can make that will avoid military action at this point? And if so, what would that deal look like?
Yes, we see that every day we talk about the war, if it's coming this day or that day. This is not so relevant because it's in the American minds, and Trump has to decide about it. But if Iran can bring some deal to the table, I don't think so, because the leader is so old and is so hubris. He's in that place that he says to himself since the end of the war with Israel, he says, I won the war against two superpowers, Israel and America, and I'm here, I survived. It's kind of the way of thinking of Hamas. So they are saying to themselves that we are the power here, we can't stand it, we don't have to compromise in any issue, in the nuclear issue. Actually, it's a funny thing because there is no nuclear program today, Emily. I don't understand what is on the table, about what the Americans are talking about with the Iranians. Why do we have to have negotiations about the nuclear program that there are no facilities and no scientists in Iran? So the other things, of course, they don't want to talk about the missile issues and the terror issue. So it's a dead end, I think. And I think that they will have a clash in this week or in that week, but they are not in the same frequency.
You know, if we do see military action take place, there's been discussions as early as this weekend. What's the goal of these strikes for the United States, and do you expect to see additional Israeli involvement?
I think the U.S. administration and President Trump also understood in these 6-8 months since the last war that we have to attacking Iran or trying to make them compromise. I think it's a good thing that Israel is in the second place and is not in the front. But if Iran regime will throw some missiles against Israel and then try to hit us like what happened with Saddam Hussein when America and Iraq had that war, but Israel was hurt. So of course Israel will defend itself and join the war. It won't be a good thing again to bring Israel in the war, because Israel really is committed to that thing of bringing down the regime. If America has some doubts about that, Israel doesn't have at all.
All right, well, we will be following this closely. I want to thank you for joining us today. Benny Sabti, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Step into the story of Israel's heartland with Blessed by Israel, where every purchase connects you to the land, the people, and the promise. Taste the sweetness of the promised land in their delicious honeys, or wear the story of the land close to your heart with the stunning Special Places of the Land necklace. Behind each product is a family, pioneers living in Judea and Samaria, crafting beauty and goodness from the soil of the Bible. When you buy their creations, you're not only receiving something extraordinary, you're investing in Israel's future, helping small businesses thrive and communities grow strong. Join a movement that celebrates faith, resilience, and hope. Visit blessedbyisrael.com and use ILTV's special code BLESSISRAEL, that's BLESSISRAEL, at checkout for 10% off on your first order. Be part of strengthening Israel, one purchase at a time.
New evidence obtained by ILTV shows the Islamic Republic is paying for influencers, including from the United States and United Kingdom, to whitewash the regime's crimes against the Iranian people, something which may violate U.S. sanctions law. Let's take a closer look. Outrage from Iranians inside and outside the country.
Glory to all the martyrs.
A delegation of 15 influencers tour Iran on what appears to be the regime's dime.
Police in Iran are defending the revolution and are defending their government.
The delegation was organized by the Sob Media Center, Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting.
You never fall into alternative propaganda.
Additional risks include the possibility of recruitment for espionage or hostage-taking for foreign nationals.
What's amazing, guys, is I have walked this entire rally in the middle of Iran without a hijab on.
A delegation of 15 influencers tour Iran on what appears to be the regime's dime, even as Tehran continues its violent crackdown after a campaign of mass murder of its own citizens. This week, an ILTV investigation has discovered that among the participants are U.S. national Kala Walsh and a UK national Bushra Sheikh, raising serious concerns about sanctions violations both in Washington and in London. The delegation was organized by the Sob Media Center, a state-linked entity affiliated with the state media network, Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting. The organizer of the tour has also been identified as Ahmed Norouzi, the vice president of IRIB's World Service. According to the U.S. Treasury, Norouzi is listed on the specially designated nationals list under the Iran sanctions program. Treasury records link him directly to IRIB, which the U.S. sanctioned for broadcasting forced confessions and acting as a tool of state repression. In late January, Norouzi publicly issued a call for filmmakers and activists to join what he described as a special media tour to Iran. Photos posted from inside the country show members of the delegation attending official meetings and regime gatherings. In one image shared by Bushra Sheikh, Norouzi appeared seated at the head of a formal meeting during the visit. Also among the participants is U.S. national Kala Walsh, and this is not her first visit. During a previous regime-organized trip, also by Sob, Walsh appeared on stage at an event in Iran where she chanted, "Death to America."
May we see victory within our lifetimes. Margbar America, Margbar Israel.
Iranian state and parliamentary records show that the Iranian parliament approved a cultural budget provision authorizing up to $20 million for contracts with foreign individuals to assist in nation branding. Reporting in November 2024 from Iranian state media also confirmed that the Tehran municipality covered flights and hospitality costs for a delegation of 12 foreign influencers.
The trip by these influencers to Iran raises tremendous concerns. I believe that the Sob International Media Festival is kind of a repackaged outfit for the Islamic Republic to use to recruit Westerners to amplify the regime's propaganda to Western audiences.
Additional risks include the possibility of recruitment for espionage or hostage-taking for foreign nationals from both the U.S. and the UK.
There have been instances where one arm of the Iranian state invites American or your Western nationals to a, quote, conference in Iran, only for another arm of the Iranian state to take them hostage. And we've seen this before in some hostage cases.
As of now, neither the U.S. nor the UK authorities have publicly announced an investigation. However, based on publicly available documentation, the participation of both of them in a state-sponsored trip organized by a U.S.-sanctioned official presents significant potential legal exposure under existing sanctions frameworks.
At U Haifa International, academic excellence isn't just a standard, it's a way of life. With 21 English-taught master's programs, world-class faculty, and Israel's top national score in the Times Higher Education Impact Rankings, students grow in every direction.
If you really want to challenge yourself academically, grow in a very diverse community, and be immersed in such an important and significant environment, University of Haifa is the place for you.
Located on the stunning Carmel Ridge, the U Haifa blends academic excellence with the welcoming community.
U Haifa International has a great combination of top-notch academics with a great community of students.
Whether you're pursuing a one-year master's or diving into research, U Haifa gives you the tools, mentorship, and real-life insight to make your mark on the world. U Haifa International. Master your mind, live your Israel experience.
President Donald Trump is hosting the inaugural meeting of the newly formed Board of Peace in Washington, an international initiative aimed primarily at post-war Gaza reconstruction and stability. Some 24 nations will attend. ILTV's Steve Leibowitz has the report.
The White House says member states have committed more than $5 billion in humanitarian and reconstruction aid for Gaza and plan to provide thousands of personnel for an international stabilization force and local security support. The first official session is set to take place at the U.S. Institute of Peace Building in Washington, where Trump is expected to outline the board's agenda, focusing on Gaza's rebuilding, humanitarian relief, and security planning following the fragile ceasefire.
President Trump will host a Board of Peace meeting at the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace, where he will announce that member states have pledged more than $5 billion towards the Gaza humanitarian and reconstruction efforts and have also committed thousands of personnel to the International Stabilization Force and local police to maintain security and peace for Gazans.
France, Germany, and the United Kingdom have declined to join the Board of Peace, questioning its mandate and fit with the United Nations. The European Union is sending only an observer, while Norway, Sweden, Spain, and other Western European states have also refused full membership over concerns it could undermine the UN-led process. From an Israeli perspective, the meeting is being watched closely as a potential turning point in the region's post-war order, with Jerusalem looking for concrete steps that promote stability without compromising Israel's security interests. Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar is representing Israel at the meeting and expressed support for the initiative during a stop at the United Nations that included sharp criticism of the world body.
I will have the honor of representing Israel at President Trump's Board of Peace Summit. We support President Trump's plan. At its heart is the disarmament of Hamas, demilitarization of Gaza Strip, and de-radicalization of Palestinian society there. If these are achieved, there will, for the first time, be a chance to move forward a new reality in Gaza and the region. The security, stability, and prosperity of all depend on it.
The Board of Peace convening tonight for the first time in Washington.
President Isaac Herzog visited the Gaza Civil Military Coordination Center in Kiryat Gat, where he was briefed by IDF CMCC Chief Major General Yaki Dolf and U.S. Army Director Major General John Brad Bolin. Herzog praised the cooperation between Israeli, American, and international forces, noting the center's role in civil and military operations. He highlighted the new hope in Gaza following the Board of Peace decision and the implementation of President Trump's 20-point peace plan, calling it a game changer for the future of the Middle East and world peace. Addressing the month of Ramadan, Herzog sent wishes to Muslims in Israel, the region, and around the world, hoping for a month of peace, recovery, and hope for the people of Gaza. On Iran, Herzog condemned the regime for slaughtering tens of thousands of Iranians in recent weeks, calling it ruthless and cruel. He also sent Ramadan greetings to the people of Iran and prayed for the end of the regime's reign of terror, hoping for a new era in the Middle East where all these proxies are gone and a different future for the children of the region. A major milestone will be marked in the Israeli Navy today as Major R assumes command of a missile ship, becoming the first woman in the IDF to command a Sa'ar-class corvette. More from ILTV's Devo Klein.
The appointment of Major R is seen as a significant step in the Navy's operational and command leadership, reflecting a commitment to professional excellence and equal opportunity in combat roles. The missile ship she will command played a central role in the recent war, taking part in complex operations, including strikes on the Syrian Navy as part of Operation Bashan Arrow, the targeted killing of the deputy head of Hamas's government in Gaza and its finance chief, the elimination of a senior Hezbollah figure in its aerial unit 127, fire and surveillance support for maneuvering forces in Lebanon, and the interception of aerial threats in defense of Israel's skies. Major R enlisted in 2016 in the Naval Officers Course and has since served in a series of key positions, including weapons officer, duty commander of a missile ship, a commander of a Dvorah-class patrol boat in Squadron 916. Commander of the Navy, Major General David Sar Salama, said her selection reflects excellence, leadership, responsibility, and courage, adding that the Navy, the IDF, and the people of Israel are proud of her, and she will become an example for other Israeli women to follow.
Controversial U.S. media personality Tucker Carlson visited Israel for a sit-down with U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee. The interview followed a public back and forth between Carlson and U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee. Carlson did not travel beyond the airport and departed after a few hours. After leaving Israel, Carlson claims he was detained at Ben Gurion Airport after his interview with Huckabee, saying security took his passport and questioned his executive producer about the conversation. The visit follows Carlson's early February episode filmed at the Jordan River baptism site titled Christian Persecution, where he interviewed Anglican Archbishop Hossam Naum and a Jordanian Christian businessman, claiming Israel mistreats Christians and U.S. aid funds that mistreatment. But both Israeli authorities and the U.S. Embassy deny any detention took place. The Israel Airports Authority said Carlson and his team were not detained, delayed, or interrogated, but were asked routine passport control questions. The same standard procedure applied to many travelers. The sit-down comes at a tense time in American conservative politics, with support for Israel becoming a more divisive issue. Carlson has criticized U.S. policy towards Israel and Christian Zionism, drawing pushback from mainstream Republicans and pro-Israel conservatives. Prominent Jewish civil rights group Stop Anti-Semitism named Carlson Anti-Semite of the Year for 2025, citing his platforming of Jew haters and controversial figures. Individual Jewish lawmakers and leaders have also criticized Carlson for giving extremists a platform and failing to challenge anti-Semitic rhetoric. U.S. President Donald Trump has been told by his top national security advisors that the American military could launch strikes on Iran as soon as Saturday. This according to CBS News, which also reported that Trump has yet to make a decision on whether to greenlight an attack. Could war come this weekend? ILTV's Steve Leibowitz has the report.
The U.S. broadcaster CBS News says the timeline for President Trump's decision to launch an attack on Iran is expected to extend beyond this weekend, but the military is ready to strike as early as this Saturday. The latest reports follow dramatic new signals that the United States is moving closer to a military strike on Iran as senior officials dismiss the latest nuclear talks as a failure. A senior U.S. official told Channel 12 that the Geneva talks were, quote, a nothing burger. Another American official said Iran has until the end of the month to agree to a package of significant concessions on its nuclear program and other Trump red lines. According to U.S. sources, President Trump is very close to giving the order for a major strike on Iran, with multiple officials in Washington and Jerusalem saying the military confrontation could begin within days and develop into an intensive multi-week campaign. This from the White House spokesperson.
Well, there's many reasons and arguments that one could make for a strike against Iran. The president had a very successful operation as commander-in-chief with Operation Midnight Hammer, as you know, as you just said, totally obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities. The president has always been very clear, though, with respect to Iran or any country around the world, diplomacy is always his first option, and Iran would be very wise to make a deal with President Trump and with this administration.
With the U.S. military prepared to strike Iran as early as this weekend, and with air and naval assets already massed in the region, including carrier strike groups and fighter jets, U.S. forces are on high alert and ready for a possible order at any moment. Israel is closely coordinating with Washington, and officials here are preparing for the possibility of joining or supporting a U.S. strike